The forest understory holds its breath in the late morning heat. Sunlight filters through overlapping leaves in fractured columns, illuminating suspended dust, drifting spores, and the slow movement of air shaped by transpiration and shade. Within this layered world, motion is rarely abrupt. Everything unfolds gradually, governed by energy budgets, thermal limits, and risk. A praying mantis waits here. Not hidden so much as unresolved, its elongated body aligned with the geometry of stems and veins until it dissolves into the background. Green against green, or brown against bark, it is not invisible by absence, but by precision. The mantis does not stalk. It does not chase. It exists in a state of calibrated stillness that borders on inactivity, but only to an outside observer. Inside its compact nervous system, the world is being measured continuously. The compound eyes register movement across a wide field of view, while a narrow zone of binocular overlap directly ahead provides depth perception critical for strike accuracy. Every shifting leaf, every passing shadow, every vibration transmitted through the plant it grips is assessed and dismissed or flagged. Time stretches in this posture. Minutes can pass without adjustment. Hours can dissolve into heat and shadow, while the mantis expends almost nothing, conserving energy with an efficiency that rivals hibernation. This patience is not a personality trait. It is an evolutionary strategy refined by cost. A praying mantis is a predator built for ambush, but ambush is not free. Unlike pursuit hunters that spread energy expenditure across motion, the mantis compresses risk into a single moment. When it strikes, it commits. If that moment is misjudged, the consequences echo long after the prey escapes. Energy is the first cost. Mantises rely on a diet of other insects, often prey nearly equal to their own mass. Each meal represents not only calories, but future reproductive potential, molting success, and survival through scarcity. A missed strike is not merely a failure, it is a drain on limited reserves. The muscular action required to extend the raptorial legs happens in fractions of a second, powered by stored elastic energy and rapid contraction, but recovery is slower. The mantis must reset its posture, recalibrate its balance, and absorb the metabolic cost of exertion without reward. In environments where prey density fluctuates unpredictably, this inefficiency can accumulate into starvation. The second cost is exposure. Stillness is the mantis's armor. The moment it moves, even unsuccessfully, it announces itself to the ecosystem. Birds track sudden motion. Lizards notice disturbance along stems. Even other insects register the shock of movement and alter their trajectories. A failed strike does not just lose a meal. It transforms the mantis from background structure into an active object, briefly legible to predators that specialize in detecting anomalies. For an animal without venom, speed after the strike is limited. Escape is possible, but only if the mantis has not already spent its advantage. There is also positional cost. The mantis selects ambush sites carefully, choosing stems or leaves that intersect common flight paths or crawling routes. These positions are not interchangeable. They balance height, visibility, stability, and escape vectors. When a mantis strikes and misses, it often dislodges itself or bends the substrate beneath it. The geometry changes. The ambush point is degraded, sometimes ruined entirely. Repositioning requires movement, and movement reintroduces detection risk. The mantis may need to abandon a prime hunting location because of a single miscalculation. Because of these costs, the mantis does not strike often. It waits until the prey crosses a threshold defined by distance, angle, and orientation. Prey must be close enough that the raptorial legs can reach without overextension, but not so close that detection triggers an evasive response. The angle matters because mantis strikes are not wide sweeps. They are precise closures along a defined plane. If the prey's body axis does not align with the inward arc of the spined forelegs, capture probability drops sharply. The mantis also evaluates the prey's state. A distracted fly grooming its wings, a beetle navigating uneven bark, or a moth adjusting its balance presents vulnerability. A fully alert insect with wings angled for immediate takeoff does not. This evaluation is not conscious deliberation, but neural filtering shaped by selection. Studies of mantis vision reveal specialized neurons that respond preferentially to movement at specific speeds and sizes, effectively categorizing potential prey in real time. Slow drifting objects are ignored. Rapid erratic motion triggers caution. The mantis is tuned to recognize not just that something is there, but whether it is worth the irreversible decision to strike. When that decision is made, it is absolute. The mantis does not lunge its entire body. Instead, the strike unfolds from the forelegs, which unfold and snap shut faster than the prey's nervous system can react. These legs are not arms in the mammalian sense. They are mechanical traps, lined with sharp spines that interlock like the teeth of a zipper. The closure is not simply grasping, it is locking. Once the spines engage, escape becomes exponentially more difficult with each fraction of a second. The mantis immediately flexes the legs inward, pulling the prey toward its mouthparts while adjusting its grip to prevent leverage. The effectiveness of this mechanism is not based on strength alone, but on control. The mantis modulates pressure to avoid crushing prey too early, which could trigger defensive reflexes or release chemical deterrents. Instead, it immobilizes joints, pins wings, and restricts movement pathways. Only when the prey's struggle diminishes does the mantis begin feeding, often starting at the thorax where muscle density is highest. This is not cruelty or haste, it is efficiency. The prey's nervous system is disrupted quickly, reducing the risk of injury to the mantis during consumption. The locking grip represents the culmination of the mantis's strategy. Everything before it is restraint. Everything after it is certainty. But certainty only exists because of patience. In ecosystems where energy is limited and danger omnipresent, patience is not passive. It is an active filter against error. The mantis survives not by reacting faster than everything else, but by reacting less often, and only when the outcome has already tilted in its favor. This approach defines the mantis's ecological role. It does not regulate prey populations through constant pressure, but through selective removal. It takes the distracted, the injured, the poorly timed. In doing so, it reinforces behavioral vigilance across insect communities. The mantis is not everywhere, and it does not always succeed, but its presence reshapes movement patterns and risk landscapes at a fine scale. Prey species evolve sharper escape responses, not because the mantis strikes often, but because when it does, it almost never fails. In the stillness of the understory, the mantis remains unresolved once more, forelegs folded as if in rest, body swaying slightly with the movement of air. Another insect passes just beyond reach, and the mantis does nothing. The cost is too high. The angle is imperfect. Waiting is cheaper than error. In this economy of survival, restraint is not hesitation. It is mastery. The sunlit surface of a garden wall warms unevenly as the day advances, creating a mosaic of thermal pockets shaped by stone, shadow, and air movement. Tiny fissures trap heat while adjacent ledges remain cool, and across this fractured landscape, small insects move in short bursts, pausing often to regulate body temperature and assess danger. Near one such crack, a jumping spider stands exposed, its compact body held high on sturdy legs, pedipalps twitching subtly as it surveys the world. Unlike many predators of its size, it does not rely on concealment alone. It relies on sight. The jumping spider inhabits a visual universe unusually rich for an arthropod. Its principal eyes face forward, large relative to its body, capable of forming sharp images with resolution that rivals much larger animals. These eyes do not merely detect movement, they resolve shape, color, and distance. Secondary eyes positioned around the head expand the field of view, creating near-complete awareness of the surrounding space. The result is a predator that does not stumble into opportunity, but recognizes it. Every movement in its environment is potential data, and every pause is a moment of interpretation. Vision transforms the jumping spider's hunting strategy into a sequence of choices rather than reflexes. It does not charge indiscriminately at motion. It observes. A fly lands several body lengths away, cleaning its wings with rhythmic precision. The spider's front eyes lock onto the insect, tracking minute adjustments in position. Distance is not guessed, but measured through parallax and focus, a biological calculation that allows the spider to determine whether a jump is feasible or doomed. Too far, and the leap would fall short, exposing the spider to counterattack or escape. Too close, and the prey may detect the spider's intent before launch. The decision to pounce exists within a narrow margin where physics, physiology, and behavior align. This moment of pause defines the jumping spider's identity. While other predators rely on speed to compensate for uncertainty, the jumping spider trades time for accuracy. Its muscles are capable of explosive force, powered not by large mass, but by hydraulic pressure generated within the body. Before a jump, the spider increases internal fluid pressure, stiffening its legs like loaded springs. This preparation takes time, and during that time, the spider remains motionless, exposed, and vulnerable. The environment continues around it. Ants pass nearby. Shadows shift. Wind carries vibrations across the surface. The spider waits anyway, because the cost of a poor decision is higher than the cost of patience. Retreat is always an option. The jumping spider's vision does not only identify prey, it also identifies threats. A wasp's silhouette crosses the field of view, and the spider freezes, recalibrating instantly. The choice to abandon a hunt is not failure, but survival. Jumping spiders are not built to overpower every adversary. They lack venom potent enough to deter large predators and rely instead on avoidance and agility. Vision allows them to disengage early, slipping into cracks or dropping on a silk line to escape detection. This flexibility separates them from predators locked into singular strategies. When the spider commits, the launch is sudden but not reckless. The body compresses, legs extend, and the spider becomes airborne, covering multiple body lengths in a controlled arc. This leap is not a blind throw of the body but a guided maneuver. Experiments have shown that jumping spiders adjust trajectory mid-air, altering leg positions to refine landing accuracy. The silk dragline anchored before the jump serves as both safety tether and stabilizer, preventing catastrophic falls and allowing rapid recovery if the target shifts unexpectedly. The spider lands precisely, forelegs extended to secure the prey before it can react. The tension of the hunt lies not in the jump itself, but in everything preceding it. During the pause, the spider is fully engaged with its environment. Its brain, though small, processes complex visual information, distinguishing between prey species, recognizing orientation, and even responding differently to familiar versus unfamiliar objects. Some jumping spiders have demonstrated the ability to solve detour problems, navigating indirect routes to reach prey that cannot be approached head-on. This suggests a level of spatial reasoning rare among invertebrates, where the choice to pounce is informed not just by immediate distance, but by the broader layout of the environment. This cognitive approach influences the spider's ecological role. Jumping spiders are selective predators, often targeting specific prey types while ignoring others. Their visual discrimination allows them to avoid chemically defended insects or prey that pose a high risk of injury. In doing so, they shape insect communities not through sheer predation pressure, but through targeted removal. Certain flies, moths, and small beetles experience higher risk in exposed, sunlit areas where jumping spiders hunt, altering their behavior and habitat use in response. The spider's choices ripple outward, affecting patterns of movement and interaction at scales larger than its body. Energy efficiency underpins these decisions. Jumping spiders are active hunters, but activity is expensive. Each leap requires metabolic investment and exposes the spider to thermal stress, especially in open environments. By calculating before acting, the spider minimizes wasted effort. Failed jumps are rare compared to other ambush predators, and this efficiency supports a lifestyle that includes frequent relocation, exploration, and even complex courtship displays that rely on visual signaling. The same eyes that measure distance during a hunt are used to recognize mates, interpret displays, and avoid rivals, linking predation directly to reproduction and social interaction. The pause before the pounce is also a moment of vulnerability. While the spider focuses forward, its secondary eyes continue scanning for danger, but attention is finite. A bird's shadow can interrupt the calculation instantly, triggering retreat. This constant negotiation between opportunity and risk defines the spider's existence. It cannot afford tunnel vision. The decision to act is always provisional, contingent on the absence of greater threats. In this way, the spider's hunting behavior mirrors broader ecological principles, where success depends not on maximizing gains, but on minimizing losses over time. When the jump succeeds, the struggle is brief. The spider's chelicerae deliver venom that immobilizes prey quickly, and feeding begins almost immediately. There is no prolonged battle. The calculation has already ensured dominance. If the prey escapes, the spider does not pursue blindly. It reassesses, often abandoning the attempt entirely. The environment has changed. The data are no longer reliable. Retreat becomes the rational choice. In the heat-mottled world of stone and leaf, the jumping spider resumes its watch, body poised, eyes alert. Another insect enters the visual field, moving unpredictably. The spider adjusts position slightly, testing angles without committing. The pause stretches, dense with potential. This predator does not live by impulse. It lives by judgment. In a world measured in millimeters and milliseconds, the ability to wait, to see clearly, and to choose correctly is the difference between mastery and disappearance. The forest floor after rain becomes a contested landscape. Moist leaf litter compresses under its own weight, bark softens, and fallen logs swell slightly as water penetrates fibers and fungal threads awaken beneath the surface. This is not a flat world, but a layered arena of slopes, edges, and unstable footing, where traction matters as much as strength. Along the crown of a decaying log, where sap once flowed, and beetle larvae still tunnel unseen, a rhinoceros beetle emerges into the open, its dark exoskeleton dulled by moisture and soil. The air is heavy, the ground uncertain, and the contest that unfolds here will not be decided by speed or venom, but by balance. Rhinoceros beetles are not predators. They do not hunt, bite, or chase. Their conflicts are not about food in the immediate sense, but about access. Sap flows, fermenting fruit, and sheltered feeding sites draw multiple adults to the same limited resources. Where these resources concentrate, so do rivals, and the encounters that follow are governed by mechanics rather than aggression. The beetle's horn, dramatic and oversized, is not a weapon meant to pierce or crush. It is a lever, shaped by generations of selection to manipulate mass and exploit mistakes. The arena matters before the opponent does. A rhinoceros beetle moving across uneven bark probes with each step, testing grip through hooked claws that bite into wood fibers and fungal mats. Its body is heavy, built around a dense thorax that houses powerful muscles connected to rigid exoskeletal plates. This mass is both asset and liability. On stable ground, weight provides anchoring force. On sloped or degraded surfaces, it becomes a risk. Every contest begins, whether consciously or not, with an assessment of footing. When another male approaches, the interaction escalates slowly. Antennae flick, forelegs adjust, and both beetles align their bodies parallel to the log's axis. This orientation is not accidental. Facing along the length of the substrate maximizes traction and minimizes lateral slip. Neither beetle attempts to bite. Mandibles remain secondary, used only for stabilizing contact. The horn comes forward, angled beneath the opponent's body, searching for purchase. The goal is not to injure, but to destabilize. The choice is between pushing and lifting, and that choice is dictated by geometry. If the opponent's center of mass sits high and forward, lifting becomes efficient. The horn slides under the thorax, applying upward force while the pushing beetle braces its hind legs against the substrate. This converts muscular effort into rotational torque, levering the rival's body upward and backward. If the opponent's stance is low and wide, lifting fails, and pushing becomes the viable strategy. Here, the beetle drives forward, forcing the rival to retreat step by step, each backward movement increasing the chance of a misstep. These contests reveal the true function of the horn. Its curvature and length are optimized to interface with another beetle's body, not to puncture it. The horn acts as a pry bar, transferring force away from the attacker's center and into the opponent's balance. Success depends less on raw power than on timing and angle. A beetle that commits to lifting too early exposes itself to counter pressure. One that pushes without securing its footing risks sliding instead of advancing. The winner is often the individual that waits for instability rather than creating it through brute force. Footing determines everything. The log's surface may appear solid, but moisture creates microslips invisible to the human eye. Lichen and fungal growth reduce friction unpredictably. A rival that shifts weight slightly to one side may lose traction on a single leg, and that moment is decisive. The attacking beetle senses this through proprioceptive feedback transmitted along its legs, responding instantly by increasing pressure or changing angle. What appears to be a slow, clumsy shove is in fact a finely tuned mechanical exchange occurring through rigid structures and sensory cues embedded in the exoskeleton. Once balance breaks, recovery is difficult. A rhinoceros beetle flipped onto its back is not helpless, but regaining footing on uneven substrate takes time and exposes soft ventral surfaces. Gravity, once an ally, becomes an enemy. The victorious beetle does not pursue. There is no need. Control of the feeding site has been secured, and the loser, even if uninjured, has been displaced from the resource-rich zone. Energy has been conserved, risk minimized. These battles shape more than individual outcomes. They influence horn size evolution, body mass distribution, and even habitat selection. Larger horns provide greater leverage, but they also shift the center of mass forward, increasing the risk of self-instability. Beetles with oversized horns may dominate rivals, yet suffer higher rates of accidental falls in complex environments. As a result, horn size is balanced against environmental context. In dense forests with irregular substrates, moderate horns paired with superior grip may outperform extreme weaponry. In more uniform environments, exaggerated horns gain advantage. Evolution tunes geometry to landscape. There is also a cost to losing that extends beyond the immediate contest. Displaced beetles must search for new feeding sites, expending energy and increasing exposure to predators such as birds and small mammals. The forest floor is not forgiving to large, slow-moving insects without chemical defenses. Avoiding repeated contests becomes a survival strategy in itself. Some individuals retreat early, conceding before full engagement, especially if footing feels unreliable. This restraint is not weakness, but risk management shaped by experience and selection. The absence of biting is significant. Rhinoceros beetles possess mandibles capable of gripping, but biting introduces unpredictability and potential injury to both parties. Injured limbs compromise mobility permanently, a fatal disadvantage in an environment where climbing and stability are essential. By resolving conflicts through pushing and lifting, beetles maintain structural integrity. The contest remains physical but controlled, governed by leverage rather than damage. This reduces the long-term cost of competition across the population. Viewed from above, these encounters resemble slow-moving machinery testing limits. Forces are applied, resisted, redirected. Each beetle adjusts stance, shifts weight, and probes for weakness. There is no frenzy, no escalation into chaos. The drama lies in restraint and inevitability. A single misplaced step, a slight loss of grip, and the outcome is sealed. The loser tumbles from the log, landing among leaves and shadows below, while the winner remains, horn lowered, body steady, reclaiming the quiet authority of position. In this system, success is not about dominance through harm, but mastery of physics. The rhinoceros beetle wins by understanding, through instinct encoded in structure, how mass moves across unstable ground. Grip, angle, and timing decide the contest long before visible victory. The forest does not reward rage. It rewards those who can remain upright when everything else shifts. Dusk settles early in the old woodland, long before the sun disappears. Beneath the canopy, light fractures into dim corridors where trunks absorb warmth gathered through the day and release it slowly into the cooling air. Sap bleeds from old wounds in the bark, fermenting quietly, and the smell of decay and sugar draws insects from across the forest. On an oak trunk, rising from leaf litter like a pillar, A stag beetle clings with deliberate precision, its heavy body pressed close to the surface, legs spread wide to distribute weight. The bark here is not smooth, it is ridged, peeling, unpredictable, and every ridge matters. Stag beetles do not fight in open space. Their contests unfold on vertical or slanted surfaces where gravity is always present, waiting. These beetles are defined by their mandibles, elongated into antler-like structures that seem purpose-built for violence. Yet their battles are not about cutting, piercing, or crushing. The mandibles are tools of grip, not blades of execution. The true lethal force in these encounters is not muscle or bite strength, but the sudden absence of support. Another male arrives, drawn by the same sap flow, climbing into the same narrow arena. Space is limited, and neither beetle can feed without acknowledging the other. There is no immediate clash. Both adjust their stance, testing the bark with hooked claws that engage fissures invisible at a distance. The surface is steep enough that a fall would send either beetle tumbling several body lengths before landing among roots and stones below. Survival here depends not only on winning, but on how one wins. The choice each beetle faces is subtle but decisive. Clamp higher or clamp safer. A high grip offers dominance. If the mandibles lock onto the opponent's thorax or pronotum, the lifting potential increases dramatically. The beetle can lever the rival's body outward, away from the bark, converting its own mass into a counterweight. With sufficient angle, gravity does the rest. The opponent is peeled from the surface and dropped, not killed by the jaws, but by the fall and the impact that follows. But a high clamp is risky. Reaching upward requires extension, and extension compromises stability. The beetle's center of mass shifts away from the bark, reducing friction at the legs. If the opponent resists effectively or counters by shifting weight downward, the attacker may lose grip instead. A failed high clamp does not merely waste effort, it exposes the beetle to counterlift. The opponent, now lower and more stable, can slide its mandibles underneath and reverse the leverage. In a matter of seconds, the hunter becomes the one suspended over empty air. A safer clamp targets lower sections of the body, gripping closer to the legs where stability is greatest. This grip offers control rather than spectacle. It allows the beetle to pin the opponent against the bark, restricting movement and preventing access to the feeding site. However, it rarely results in an immediate drop. The contest becomes a prolonged test of endurance, muscle fatigue, and micro-adjustments in footing. Energy drains steadily, and both beetles remain exposed to predators that hunt by silhouette and movement at twilight. These decisions are shaped by anatomy. The mandibles of stag beetles vary not only in size but in curvature and inner tooth arrangement. Some are better suited to high clamps, with inward-facing projections that lock securely around convex surfaces. Others excel at lower, stabilizing grips, distributing force evenly and reducing slippage. These differences are not arbitrary. They reflect evolutionary trade-offs influenced by habitat structure. In forests with smoother bark and gentler slopes, high-risk, high-reward strategies pay off. In rougher, more vertical environments, conservative gripping reduces fatal mistakes. Muscle strength alone does not determine the outcome. The beetle's thoracic muscles generate impressive force, but without proper angle and traction, that force dissipates uselessly. The legs play an equal role, anchoring the body and absorbing reactive forces during lifts. A beetle that neglects leg placement, even momentarily, undermines its own leverage. This is why many contests appear slow and deliberate. Each beetle probes, lifts slightly, adjusts, and probes again, waiting for a moment when resistance weakens or footing shifts. Gravity is impartial. It rewards patience and punishes haste. A beetle lifted only partway may swing briefly, gaining momentum that increases the strain on the attacker's grip. If released too early or without control, the attacker can be pulled forward, destabilized by its own success. Experienced individuals often pause at the peak of a lift, holding the opponent suspended just long enough to ensure complete loss of traction before releasing. The drop then becomes clean and decisive. The fall itself is the most dangerous phase of the encounter. Stag beetles are heavily armored, but impact with hard surfaces can crack exoskeletal plates, dislocate joints, or damage internal tissues. Even when injury is not immediately visible, the energy required to right oneself and climb back into feeding zones is substantial. A beetle that has fallen once is unlikely to challenge again that night. The contest is effectively over long before death becomes a factor. This mode of conflict reduces the frequency of lethal injury while still enforcing hierarchy. By outsourcing the final blow to gravity, beetles avoid the need for destructive weaponry that could endanger both participants. The mandibles remain intact, muscles unstrained beyond recoverable limits, and the population maintains functional competitors across multiple breeding seasons. Evolution favors this restraint because it preserves reproductive potential while still allowing selection to act on strength, size, and coordination. The feeding site itself is reshaped by these interactions. Dominant beetles occupy the most productive sap flows, while subordinates are forced to forage at less optimal sites or at different times. This partitioning reduces direct competition and spreads feeding pressure across the forest. Even microorganisms benefit. Sap flows persist longer when not overcrowded, supporting yeast and bacteria communities that in turn attract other insects. The beetles, through their contests, influence energy distribution far beyond their own needs. As darkness deepens, the victor settles back against the bark, mandibles lowered, body aligned once more with the tree. The defeated beetle is gone, absorbed into the shadowed complexity of the forest floor. There has been no blood, no tearing of flesh, no final bite. The outcome was decided by grip choice, angle, and the unyielding pull of gravity. In this world, jaws do not kill. They merely decide who gets to stay attached to the surface of survival. The interior of a living tree is not silent. Beneath the bark, beyond the reach of wind and light, a slow industry unfolds that most predators will never witness. Fibers creak as moisture shifts. Sap pulses through vascular channels. Fungi spread their invisible networks, and insects carve passageways through wood that appears solid only from the outside. In this hidden world, the longhorn beetle begins its life not as a visible insect, but as a decision already made. For a longhorn beetle, survival is not primarily about speed, strength, or confrontation. It is about location. Long before the adult form emerges with its elongated antennae and hardened wings, the species commits to a strategy that exchanges exposure for enclosure. The egg is laid not on leaves or soil, but on bark, within crevices, or directly into wounds in wood. From the moment the larva hatches, it turns inward, away from the open ecosystem, choosing depth over visibility. This is not an act of avoidance in the moment, but a lifestyle shaped entirely around inaccessibility. Wood is a hostile environment in many ways. It is dry, nutritionally imbalanced, and physically restrictive, yet it offers something the open world cannot: protection. Predators patrol bark surfaces constantly. Birds peck and pry. Parasitic wasps probe with ovipositors fine enough to slip into cracks. Mammals tear apart rotten logs in search of protein. But once a larva moves beyond the outer layers, once it disappears into intact wood, the number of threats collapses dramatically. Teeth cannot reach what cannot be opened. Eyes cannot track what leaves no surface movement. The larva itself is ill-suited for escape. It is soft-bodied, pale, slow, and blind. Its mandibles are designed not for combat, but for grinding cellulose. In open space, it would be defenseless. Inside wood, these weaknesses become irrelevant. The surrounding material supports its body, limits directions of attack, and muffles vibration. The larva advances by chewing, converting structure into shelter, and shelter into food. Every tunnel it creates is both a feeding site and a refuge. This tunneling is not random. Longhorn beetle larvae respond to gradients within the wood, following moisture levels, fungal presence, and tissue density. Wood colonized by fungi is easier to digest, as fungal enzymes have already begun breaking down lignin. The larva benefits indirectly from microbial activity, exploiting a symbiotic relationship it neither controls nor perceives consciously. In return, its tunnels increase aeration, accelerating decomposition and altering nutrient flow within the tree. The beetle is not merely hiding, it is reshaping the internal ecology of its host. Predators do adapt. Some woodpeckers can hear larval movement, detecting vibrations transmitted through trunks. But even these specialists face limits. The deeper the tunnel, the weaker the signal. Each centimeter inward dilutes sound and disperses energy. The larva's slow pace, punctuated by long periods of stillness, further reduces detectability. Silence becomes camouflage. Where speed would fail, absence of signal succeeds. Time stretches inside the tree. Longhorn beetle larvae may remain embedded for years, molting repeatedly as they expand their galleries. Growth is constrained by the tunnel itself, forcing the larva to carve continuously to accommodate its increasing size. This creates a feedback loop where survival depends on the ability to keep moving forward without ever reversing. Retreat is impossible. The only direction is deeper or onward. This commitment amplifies the cost of mistakes. If the larva encounters wood too dry, too dense, or too toxic, it cannot simply leave. The choice to live inside wood demands precision at the beginning, selecting the right host species, the right decay stage, the right moisture balance. The adult longhorn beetle represents the end of this prolonged seclusion. When it finally emerges, chewing an exit hole through bark hardened by years of exposure, it enters a world for which it has made few defensive preparations. The adult form is armored, but not aggressive. Its mandibles are modest, its speed limited, and its primary sensory investment lies in its antennae, which can extend longer than its body. These antennae are not weapons, but instruments, sampling chemical signals in the air to locate mates and suitable oviposition sites. The adult's task is brief and dangerous. Reproduction must occur quickly, before predators take advantage of its sudden visibility. This sharp contrast between larval and adult lifestyles reveals the full logic of the species' strategy. The most vulnerable stage, when growth is slow and mobility absent, is spent in maximum safety. The most exposed stage, when mobility and sensory awareness peak, is kept short. Risk is not eliminated, but concentrated where the organism is best equipped to manage it. The beetle does not learn to hide. It is built to hide by default. This strategy influences forest dynamics in subtle but profound ways. Trees infested with longhorn beetle larvae experience internal weakening long before external symptoms appear. Branches may fail under wind stress, trunks may hollow gradually, creating cavities used by birds, mammals, and other insects. The beetle becomes an agent of structural change, accelerating processes that shape habitat complexity. What begins as a private refuge for a larva ends as shared space for an entire community. There is an irony in this arrangement. The tree, long perceived as a fortress, becomes a sanctuary for its own consumer. The bark that repels rain and resists fire also conceals the beetle from predators. The wood that supports leaves and transports nutrients becomes both food and armor. The beetle does not challenge the environment directly. It exploits its blind spots. Predators evolve sharper senses, stronger tools, faster reflexes, yet none of these matter if access is denied. Safety in this context is not about defense, but about denial. Even parasites face constraints. Many parasitoid wasps have evolved elongated ovipositors capable of drilling into wood, but their reach is finite. They rely on chemical cues and vibration to locate hosts, and these signals degrade with depth and distance. A larva that tunnels just beyond the typical reach gains near complete immunity. Selection favors individuals that chew deeper, that pause movement when danger is sensed indirectly through pressure changes or sound, that time their activity to periods of environmental noise such as wind or rain. The tunnel becomes not just a physical barrier, but an information shield. When the adult beetle finally leaves the tree, it does so with purpose. It seeks specific hosts, often of the same species or condition that sustained it as a larva. This fidelity reinforces the cycle, ensuring that eggs are placed where larvae can repeat the strategy successfully. The adult does not linger. It is not meant to. Its role is to bridge generations, transferring a body shaped for concealment into a world that demands exposure only briefly. The longhorn beetle does not choose safety in a moment of fear. It chooses safety as a way of life. By relocating its most vulnerable existence into a space others cannot enter, it sidesteps the arms race of speed, venom, and armor. It does not become harder to catch. It becomes impossible to reach. In ecosystems defined by visibility and pursuit, the most effective defense is sometimes to vanish entirely into the structure of the world itself. Morning light reaches the wooden beam slowly, sliding across its weathered surface as temperature rises and the fibers expand almost imperceptibly. To the casual observer, the beam is inert, part of a fence or eave, bleached by sun and rain into a neutral backdrop. To a carpenter bee, it is terrain, resource, and risk compressed into a single structure. The choice facing the bee is not whether to build, but how deeply to commit. Every tunnel carved into this wood represents a balance between safety and exposure, between future security and present danger. Carpenter bees do not inherit nests. Each female begins alone, selecting a piece of wood with very specific properties. The surface must be firm enough to hold shape, but soft enough to yield under repeated abrasion. Untreated wood is preferred, especially older timber where moisture cycles have loosened grain boundaries. Resin content matters. Density matters. Even orientation matters, as tunnels angled slightly upward reduce water intrusion while complicating access for parasites. The bee evaluates all of this through touch and vibration, drumming lightly with her mandibles before committing. Once excavation begins, retreat becomes costly. The act of tunneling is slow and conspicuous. Carpenter bees do not chew wood for nutrition. They grind it mechanically, reducing fibers to dust that is pushed out of the entrance in pale, granular streams. Each burst of debris marks progress, but also broadcasts location. Predators notice movement. Parasitic wasps track the sound and scent of fresh wood dust. Birds learn to associate circular holes with hidden protein. The longer construction takes, the longer the bee remains exposed at the entrance, vulnerable and distracted. Depth offers protection. A shallow tunnel provides little buffer against intrusion. Parasites with elongated ovipositors can reach brood cells placed close to the surface. Ants can invade. Temperature fluctuations penetrate more easily, subjecting developing larvae to thermal stress. A deeper tunnel stabilizes conditions, maintaining humidity and temperature within a narrower range that favors larval development. It also places physical distance between the brood and the outside world, forcing intruders to traverse narrow corridors where defense becomes possible. But depth is expensive. Each additional length of tunnel requires time, energy, and repeated exposure. The bee must exit frequently to clear debris, each departure an opportunity for attack. Muscles fatigue. Mandibles wear. Wing membranes risk damage from repeated flights through confined spaces. The deeper the tunnel, the greater the upfront investment before a single egg can be laid. For a solitary insect with a limited lifespan, this investment carries risk. A bee that builds too ambitiously may exhaust herself before reproduction begins. The trade-off is not abstract. It is enforced by the environment in real time. In warm, predator-rich areas, the pressure to build deeper increases, but so does the risk during construction. In cooler or less contested environments, shallower nests may suffice, allowing faster reproduction with lower immediate danger. Carpenter bees adjust their behavior accordingly, a flexible response shaped by local conditions rather than rigid instinct. Studies have shown variation in tunnel length across habitats, reflecting this balance between fortification and feasibility. Once the main tunnel reaches a chosen depth, the bee begins partitioning it into brood cells. Each cell is provisioned with a mixture of pollen and nectar, compacted into a dense mass that will sustain a single larva. The egg is laid atop this provision, and the cell is sealed with a partition of chewed wood pulp. These partitions serve multiple functions. They isolate larvae, preventing disease spread. They add structural reinforcement. They also slow intruders, forcing parasites to breach each barrier sequentially. Depth alone does not guarantee safety. Architecture completes the defense. Yet even the most carefully constructed nest is not invulnerable. Parasitic wasps may still succeed, timing their attacks when the bee is away foraging. Predatory birds may tear into wood, bypassing the entrance entirely. Weather can split beams, exposing tunnels. The carpenter bee cannot control these factors, only mitigate them. By building deeper, she reduces probabilities rather than eliminating threats. Survival becomes a matter of odds, managed through effort. Energy expenditure during construction has cascading effects. Time spent excavating is time not spent foraging. Pollen resources fluctuate seasonally, and delays can mean reduced provisioning quality. Smaller or poorly nourished larvae emerge weaker, less competitive, and more vulnerable in their own right. A deeper nest protects brood physically, but if the builder depletes herself in the process, the brood may suffer indirectly. The optimal tunnel depth is therefore not the maximum possible, but the maximum sustainable given current conditions. Exposure during building also carries social consequences. Carpenter bees are not fully solitary in behavior. Multiple females may nest in proximity, and competition for suitable wood can be intense. A bee engaged in long excavation may lose access to nearby resources to rivals who complete shallower nests more quickly. Speed confers advantages in territory establishment, even as depth confers advantages in brood survival. The landscape becomes a mosaic of strategies, each reflecting different risk tolerances and environmental pressures. Thermoregulation further complicates the choice. Wood buffers temperature changes, but only beyond a certain depth. Shallow nests heat rapidly in direct sunlight, potentially overheating larvae. Deep nests remain cooler and more stable, but may slow development in cooler climates. The bee must anticipate conditions weeks or months ahead, aligning nest depth with expected temperature patterns. This is not foresight in a cognitive sense, but a behavioral pattern honed by selection, where those whose instincts align best with local climate leave more descendants. The irony of the carpenter bee's strategy lies in visibility. The finished nest is almost invisible, its entrance a small circular hole that blends into wood grain. But the process of building is anything but subtle. For days, sometimes weeks, the bee announces her presence through motion and debris. Fortification demands exposure. The safer the future, the more dangerous the present. This paradox defines the carpenter bee's life, forcing a continuous negotiation between immediate survival and long-term success. Once construction ends and provisioning begins, the bee's behavior shifts. Activity at the entrance decreases. Flights become more purposeful, focused on collecting resources rather than clearing waste. The risk window narrows. A deep tunnel now pays dividends, shielding the brood while the mother completes her final tasks. In some species, daughters emerge first and take over nest defense, a rare overlap of generations that further enhances survival. Even here, depth matters. A deeper nest provides space for this temporary cooperation to function effectively. The wood remains marked long after the bee's life ends. Tunnels persist, reused by future bees or colonized by other insects. The structure becomes part of the habitat, influencing species interactions beyond the original builder's intent. What began as a personal gamble becomes a shared resource, shaping ecological relationships at a small but meaningful scale. The carpenter bee's choice is never resolved once and for all. Each nesting attempt recalibrates the balance between deeper and faster, between fortification and risk. There is no perfect answer, only strategies that perform better under specific conditions. In a world where safety must be constructed piece by piece, the decision of how far to dig is the difference between a lineage that continues unseen and one that ends before it can retreat from the light. Heat gathers above the wetland in layered sheets, rising from dark water and reed beds where decay and growth occur side by side. The air is dense with scent and motion, filled with midges, mosquitoes, and drifting insects lifted by convection currents invisible to the eye, but decisive for flight. Above this shifting field, a scarlet dragonfly holds position, its body angled slightly upward, wings beating in controlled, shallow arcs that stabilize rather than propel. It does not rush. It watches the air itself. For an aerial predator, the sky is not empty space. It is structured, contoured by temperature gradients, wind shear, and obstacles that bend airflow into predictable channels. The scarlet dragonfly has evolved to read these patterns. Its compound eyes dominate the head, wrapping around it to provide nearly complete visual coverage. Each eye contains thousands of individual facets, tuned to detect motion and contrast rather than fine detail. What matters is not the precise shape of prey, but its trajectory, speed, and deviation against a background of constant movement. The choice facing the dragonfly is deceptively simple: chase or intercept. To chase is to react. to accelerate after prey already moving away, expending energy in a pursuit that favors insects capable of erratic flight. To intercept is to predict, to place the body where the prey will be rather than where it is. The second option requires restraint, calculation, and a deep familiarity with the physics of flight. Speed alone does not decide these encounters. Geometry does. Dragonflies are among the most capable flyers in the insect world. Their four wings operate independently, allowing them to hover, glide, and accelerate with precision. Muscles attached directly to the wings provide immediate control, bypassing the indirect flight mechanisms seen in many insects. This gives the dragonfly exceptional maneuverability, but it also demands constant correction. Air is never still. Microturbulence generated by vegetation and water surfaces disrupts flight paths continuously. A dragonfly that commits too early or too aggressively risks overshooting its target or revealing its intent. When a mosquito lifts from the water surface, it follows a predictable initial trajectory, rising with the thermal plume before leveling off. The dragonfly registers this movement instantly, but does not give chase. Instead, it shifts position laterally, sliding across the air column until its own flight path intersects the mosquito's projected line. This movement is subtle, barely perceptible against the broader motion of the wetland. The dragonfly's wings adjust frequency and angle to reposition without acceleration bursts that would alert the prey. This is where interception becomes decisive. By aligning itself ahead of the prey's path, the dragonfly minimizes relative motion, reducing the visual cues that trigger escape responses. Many flying insects rely on rapid detection of expanding shapes to initiate evasive maneuvers. An object approaching head-on with constant angular size is harder to detect. The dragonfly exploits this sensory limitation, closing distance not through obvious pursuit but through convergence. A chase begins only when interception fails, or when prey is already aware and fleeing unpredictably. Even then, the dragonfly does not simply follow. It adjusts altitude, cutting corners through three-dimensional space, while anticipating turns rather than responding to them. Research has shown that dragonflies can maintain a constant bearing angle during pursuit, a strategy that results in collision rather than tail chasing. This requires continuous visual processing and motor adjustment, effectively turning the hunt into a moving equation solved in real time. The margin for error is narrow. One wrong line, one misjudged current, and the prey vanishes into cluttered airspace, where the dragonfly's size becomes a liability. Over open water, escape options are limited. Over dense reeds, turbulence increases and visual tracking degrades. The dragonfly weighs these factors instantly, often abandoning pursuit rather than wasting energy on a low-probability outcome. Retreat is not failure. It is efficiency enforced by selection. Interception succeeds because it compresses time. When the dragonfly commits fully, it accelerates into the prey's path with precision that leaves little room for response. Legs extend forward, forming a basket lined with spines. The prey does not experience a chase. It experiences contact. Capture occurs mid-air, often followed by immediate consumption as the dragonfly continues flying, processing its meal without landing. This seamless transition reflects how integrated flight and feeding have become in its biology. Positioning also reduces exposure to predators. Birds hunt dragonflies visually, targeting erratic motion and prolonged chases. A dragonfly that engages in extended pursuit advertises itself. By intercepting quickly, it minimizes time spent in vulnerable acceleration phases. The hunt ends before attention can accumulate. Speed here is a tool, but discretion determines when it is used. Thermoregulation influences these decisions. Dragonflies are ectothermic, their flight muscles performing optimally within a narrow temperature range. Early in the day, they bask, absorbing heat through darkened body surfaces. As temperature rises, muscle efficiency increases, but overheating becomes a risk. Sustained high-speed chases generate internal heat that must be dissipated. Interception, being brief and decisive, limits thermal load. On particularly hot days, dragonflies adjust hunting behavior, favoring shaded air corridors and shorter engagements. Scarlet coloration adds another layer. The vivid red of mature males is not camouflage. It is a signal used in territorial interactions and mate attraction. Against green and blue backgrounds, it is conspicuous. This increases predation risk, but the dragonfly offsets this through control of motion. Stillness and smooth glides reduce detectability. Sudden accelerations are timed and directional, minimizing exposure. The color declares presence only when the dragonfly chooses to reveal it. The wetland responds to these hunters. Swarms shift altitude. Mosquitoes alter emergence timing. Small flies hug vegetation rather than open air. These changes ripple outward, influencing feeding patterns of fish and birds alike. The dragonfly, through selective interception, shapes aerial traffic patterns much as a reef predator shapes fish movement. Its role is not to eliminate prey, but to enforce vigilance and spatial awareness. When interception fails, it fails quickly. The dragonfly veers off, returning to a perch or hover point without hesitation. There is no persistence born of frustration. Energy is conserved for better opportunities. This discipline distinguishes successful aerial predators from wasteful ones. Evolution favors those that know when not to fly. As afternoon light sharpens and thermals strengthen, the scarlet dragonfly resumes its watch above the reeds. Insects rise and fall around it, each movement a potential line in space. The dragonfly does not react to all of them. It waits for alignment, for the moment when position outweighs speed and geometry outweighs effort. In the open air, where escape seems limitless, the most decisive victories are achieved not by chasing harder, but by arriving exactly where the prey never expected danger to exist. The pond at midday appears calm only from a distance. Up close, its surface is alive with motion too subtle to register as disturbance, a constantly shifting membrane shaped by wind, insects, falling pollen, and the slow breathing of water plants beneath. Sunlight fractures into wavering patterns that slide across the surface like moving glass. For the creatures that live on this boundary, the surface is not a reflection of the world, but a world in itself, governed by different rules, different dangers, and different forms of speed. A water strider moves here with effortless precision, its long legs spread wide, weight distributed so perfectly that the water does not break beneath it. The water surface is not solid, yet it behaves like one when treated correctly. Surface tension, created by the cohesive forces between water molecules, forms an elastic skin strong enough to support organisms that exploit it with the right anatomy and posture. The water strider is one such specialist. Each leg ends in fine hairs coated with hydrophobic wax, trapping air and preventing wetting. This creates a cushion that distributes pressure, allowing the insect to skate across the surface without sinking. Movement here is fast, frictionless, and efficient, but it comes at a cost. Everything that touches the surface leaves a signal behind. Ripples travel farther than motion itself. When a water strider darts forward, it generates concentric waves that radiate outward in all directions. These ripples carry information. Other striders detect them through mechanoreceptors in their legs, interpreting wave frequency, amplitude, and direction to determine whether the source is prey, rival, or predator. A struggling insect produces chaotic vibrations. A hunting fish creates low-frequency disturbances rising from below. A bird's beak breaking the surface sends a sudden sharp pulse. On the water, sound and touch merge into one sensory channel, and hesitation can be fatal. The choice facing a water strider during disturbance is immediate and binary. Remain on the surface and fight for position, or flee toward the edge where water meets solid ground, often slipping beneath overhanging vegetation or into the narrow zone where surface tension weakens. Staying on the surface offers speed. The strider can accelerate faster than most aquatic predators can react, using rowing motions that push against the elastic surface rather than through the water itself. Fleeing toward the edge sacrifices this advantage, but offers concealment, breaking the surface signal and disappearing into clutter where pursuit becomes difficult. Predation pressure defines this trade-off. Fish hunt from below, using the surface as a ceiling against which prey silhouettes are visible. A strider that remains in open water risks sudden upward strikes. Birds hunt from above, targeting surface movement with precision. The water strider is exposed from both directions, its world compressed into a thin plain where escape routes are limited. Speed on the surface can save it, but only if the attack is detected early enough. Ripples provide warning, but they also betray presence. Fighting on the surface is not limited to predator encounters. Water striders are territorial, especially during breeding seasons when access to mates becomes contested. Males patrol surface patches, responding aggressively to intruding ripple signatures. These interactions are brief but intense. Individuals rear slightly, pushing and striking with forelegs, attempting to unbalance rivals without breaking the surface film. Falling through the surface is costly. Recovery requires climbing back up using surface tension, a process that takes time and increases vulnerability. Losing a surface fight can mean more than loss of territory. It can mean exposure during the struggle to return. The edge offers a different set of rules. Near vegetation, surface tension is disrupted by stems, leaves, and microcurrents. Ripples dissipate quickly, reducing communication range, but also limiting warning time. Predators have difficulty maneuvering here. Fish avoid shallow margins cluttered with roots. Birds struggle to strike accurately through dense cover. By fleeing toward the edge, the strider trades speed for obscurity, entering a zone where it is harder to be seen and heard through water movement. Some water striders push this strategy further, exploiting the interface between water and air by briefly dipping beneath overhanging plants or slipping into surface depressions where bubbles and debris collect. While they do not truly dive, they can partially submerge without breaking surface tension entirely, reducing their profile. This behavior is risky, as prolonged submersion threatens respiration, but as a temporary escape tactic, it can disrupt predator targeting long enough to survive. The choice is shaped by context. In open ponds with few refuges, surface speed dominates. In complex wetlands with abundant vegetation, edge flight becomes more viable. Water striders adjust behavior dynamically, responding not only to immediate threats, but to background conditions such as wind strength and surface clutter. Wind roughens the surface, increasing background noise in ripple communication. Under these conditions, warning signals are harder to interpret, and the surface becomes more dangerous. Striders shift closer to edges, reducing reliance on long-range ripple detection. Thermoregulation also plays a role. The water surface heats rapidly under direct sunlight, and striders bask here to raise body temperature, improving muscle performance and reaction speed. The edge, shaded by plants, offers cooler conditions but reduces sprint capability. A warm strider on the surface may choose to fight or flee across open water, confident in its acceleration. A cooler strider may avoid confrontation altogether, slipping into cover at the first hint of disturbance. The surface is also a feeding ground. Insects that fall into the water become trapped by surface tension, creating opportunities for striders to scavenge or hunt. These events generate strong, chaotic ripples that attract multiple striders simultaneously, increasing competition and risk. Predators learn these patterns. Fish associate surface disturbance with prey availability. Birds patrol feeding hotspots. The surface becomes a crowded highway where opportunity and danger coincide. Despite this, the water strider remains committed to the surface lifestyle. Evolution has refined its morphology to exploit this niche so effectively that abandoning it entirely would mean losing its greatest advantage. Long legs, hydrophobic coatings, and specialized sensory systems are all optimized for life on the boundary. Fleeing underwater edges is a fallback, not a primary mode of existence. The strider returns to the surface as soon as danger passes, reclaiming speed and visibility. This balance shapes the entire pond ecosystem. By preying on insects trapped on the surface, water striders regulate populations of mosquitoes and midges, influencing disease dynamics and energy flow. Their ripple communication creates a sensory network across the pond, linking individuals into a distributed warning system that affects movement patterns of multiple species. Predators adapt in response, refining attack strategies to exploit moments when the surface betrays its inhabitants. The irony of the water strider's world is that its greatest strength is also its greatest liability. Surface tension grants mobility unmatched by most aquatic or terrestrial insects, yet it turns every movement into a broadcast. There is no stealth on water, only interpretation. Survival depends on reading the surface as much as skating across it, on choosing when to exploit speed and when to vanish into complexity. As afternoon light angles lower and wind begins to ripple the pond more strongly, the water strider adjusts position, drifting closer to reed shadows. The surface grows louder with overlapping waves, messages blurring into noise. Here, the highway becomes treacherous. A sudden pulse travels across the water, sharp and fast. The strider reacts instantly, not racing forward, but veering sideways, legs lifting just enough to break pattern and disappear into the margin. The surface closes behind it, smooth once more, offering no trace of where danger passed or how close it came. In this world, survival belongs to those who know when to run on water and when to leave it behind. In the quiet canopy of a forest edge, motion is constant but rarely abrupt. Leaves pivot and settle, branches flex under their own weight, and wind passes through in pulses rather than streams. To an untrained eye, this movement appears random, a background texture against which animals either stand out or disappear. To a stick insect, this restless environment is not noise. It is cover, rhythm, and constraint combined. Survival here does not depend on becoming invisible in absolute terms, but on choosing precisely when to participate in the movement that already exists. The stick insect occupies a world where stillness is as dangerous as motion. Its body, elongated and segmented, resembles the twigs among which it lives, but resemblance alone is insufficient. Predators do not simply scan for shapes. Birds, lizards, and arboreal mammals detect anomalies in timing, direction, and coordination. A stick insect that moves independently of the surrounding vegetation, even if perfectly colored, risks immediate detection. The choice it faces is not whether to move or remain frozen forever, but whether movement can be synchronized so closely with the environment that it becomes indistinguishable from background motion. Freeze is the default state. Muscles lock, joints stiffen, and the insect becomes rigid, aligning itself with branches or leaf stems. This posture conserves energy and minimizes self-generated signals. But freezing indefinitely is not viable. The insect must feed, reposition, and reproduce. Remaining motionless through all conditions exposes it to other risks, such as desiccation, poor feeding access, or discovery by predators that inspect stationary objects closely. The challenge lies in transitioning between stillness and movement without crossing the threshold of detectability. The forest provides cues. Wind does not move all objects equally. Leaves flutter with high-frequency oscillations. Thin twigs sway slowly, bending under their own flexibility. Thicker branches respond only to stronger gusts, moving with greater inertia. The stick insect's body plan mirrors the dynamics of the substrates it inhabits. Long, slender legs flex minimally, while the torso pivots slowly, matching the oscillation patterns of nearby plant matter. This is not mimicry of appearance alone, but of physics. When wind passes through the canopy, the insect enters a different behavioral mode. It begins to sway, not randomly, but in phase with surrounding motion. This sway is subtle, often limited to small arcs that align with the dominant direction of movement. Importantly, the insect does not initiate sway immediately with the onset of wind. It delays slightly, allowing background motion to establish itself. Only then does it join, blending into an already active scene. The timing of this entry matters more than the amplitude of movement. An early or late response would stand out as asynchronous. Predators are exquisitely sensitive to such discrepancies. Birds in particular rely on motion detection to identify prey among foliage. Their visual systems are tuned to detect relative movement rather than static shapes. A stick insect that moves during calm conditions creates a high contrast signal. One that moves during wind but out of rhythm produces a phase mismatch that draws attention. The insect's survival depends on matching not just the presence of movement, but its tempo and direction. This strategy carries physiological costs. Maintaining rigid postures for extended periods demands muscular endurance. Controlled swaying requires continuous sensory feedback, integrating mechanoreceptors in the legs with visual cues from the compound eyes. The insect must monitor wind strength, direction, and variability while adjusting its own movement accordingly. This is not passive drifting. It is active regulation achieved through neural circuits that prioritize timing over speed. Feeding illustrates the constraint clearly. Stick insects consume leaves, often at night when visual predators are less active. Even then, feeding requires movement of mandibles and repositioning of the body. During calm nights, feeding pauses frequently, with the insect freezing between bites to reduce detectable motion. When a breeze passes through, feeding resumes briefly, masked by leaf movement. The insect does not eat when hungry. It eats when conditions allow. This timing-based strategy extends to reproduction. Mating involves slow approach and alignment between individuals, both of which increase exposure. Stick insects often time these interactions to periods of environmental motion, such as during consistent wind or rainfall. Eggs are dropped or placed discreetly, sometimes flicked away from the body to reduce association with the parent's location. Even reproduction is constrained by the need to avoid unsynchronized movement. Camouflage in this context is not paint. Coloration helps, but it is secondary. Many stick insects exhibit imperfect visual matches to their surroundings, with slight mismatches in hue or texture. Yet they survive because predators forgive visual imperfections when motion cues align. Conversely, perfectly colored individuals that move poorly suffer higher predation. Evolution selects for behavioral accuracy over aesthetic perfection. There is an irony here. The stick insect's greatest strength is restraint, but restraint demands awareness. A predator that freezes entirely may still be discovered by tactile inspection or random pecking. The stick insect's solution is not absolute stillness, but conditional motion. It moves only when movement is expected, and it stops before the environment does. Ending motion slightly early reduces the chance of being the last object in motion, which would draw attention as the wind dies down. The end of movement is as critical as the beginning. Environmental complexity amplifies this effect. In dense foliage, wind patterns are fragmented, creating microcurrents with different timings. A stick insect positioned between branches may experience conflicting signals. Choosing which motion to follow becomes critical. The insect aligns with the dominant substrate it contacts physically, prioritizing tactile feedback over visual cues. This ensures coherence between its body movement and the object predators are most likely to compare it against. The cost of error is immediate. A single mistimed step can trigger a cascade of responses. Birds zero in. Lizards lunge. Even ants may swarm if vibration cues reveal an anomaly. Unlike insects that rely on speed or chemical defenses, the stick insect has few recovery options once detected. Dropping to the ground may help, but descent creates motion against gravity that is easily tracked. Remaining in place and hoping camouflage suffices becomes unlikely once attention is focused. Yet this vulnerability has shaped a remarkably successful lineage. Stick insects occupy diverse habitats, from tropical forests to temperate woodlands, adapting their timing strategies to local wind regimes and vegetation types. Some species sway more actively, others remain rigid longer, reflecting differences in predator communities and plant structure. Where wind is rare, movement is extremely limited. Where wind is frequent, swaying becomes more elaborate, matching complex oscillation patterns. This reliance on timing extends beyond predator avoidance into thermoregulation. Swaying during wind increases convective cooling, helping regulate body temperature in warm conditions. Remaining rigid during heat peaks can lead to overheating, especially in sunlit foliage. The insect balances these needs, swaying enough to cool but not so much as to attract attention. Even physiological maintenance is filtered through the lens of detectability. The stick insect's world is one where victory is measured not in speed or strength, but in invisibility achieved through synchronization. It does not outpace predators, it outweights them. It does not overpower threats. It avoids triggering the decision to attack. In an ecosystem saturated with motion, the most dangerous act is not being seen but being noticed. As evening approaches and wind settles into irregular pulses, the forest canopy resumes its layered movement. Leaves twist, branches bend, and shadows slide across bark. Among them, the stick insect adjusts its posture, joining the sway briefly, then freezing just before the air stills. To any observer, it was never there. Not because it looked like a stick, but because it moved like one at exactly the right moment. At the forest edge, where daylight thins into shadow, the air changes character. Sunlight no longer falls cleanly but filters through leaves at sharp angles, creating patches of brightness that drift and collapse as branches sway. The understory is layered with half-light, a place where outlines blur and color loses authority. Here, stillness is common, but safety is never guaranteed. Among hanging vines and broad leaves, an owl butterfly rests with its wings closed, body pressed vertically against bark or foliage, appearing less like an animal than a folded fragment of the forest itself. In this posture, the butterfly is almost invisible. The underside of its wings carries muted browns and greys patterned like dead leaves, streaked and mottled to dissolve into the background. Veins mimic leaf ribs. Scales scatter light unevenly, breaking up edges. This camouflage is not perfect in isolation, but in the low-contrast environment of the forest edge, perfection is unnecessary. Predators scanning for prey rely on shape and movement. The owl butterfly offers neither. As long as it remains still, it is simply another piece of the forest's visual noise. But stillness has limits. The forest edge is a hunting ground. Birds patrol transition zones where prey density is high. Lizards move through trunks and vines. Small mammals forage opportunistically. Remaining hidden works only until a predator approaches too closely, until the outline is examined at short range, or until air movement betrays the butterfly's presence. At that moment, camouflage ceases to be enough. The owl butterfly faces a narrow window in which it must decide whether to continue pretending it is nothing or to become suddenly unforgettable. The choice is stark: stay hidden, relying on chance and imperfect attention, or flash the eyes. Eye spots dominate the upper surface of the owl butterfly's wings, large circular markings with concentric rings that resemble the eyes of a vertebrate predator. These markings are concealed when the wings are closed. They do nothing until revealed. They are not passive decoration. They are a response mechanism, deployed only under threat. When a predator closes in, the butterfly snaps its wings open in a single abrupt motion, exposing the eye spots in full contrast against the dim forest background. The effect is immediate and disproportionate. Predators evolved to respond to eyes because eyes signal awareness, threat, and potential retaliation. A bird expecting an inert insect is suddenly confronted with the apparent gaze of something much larger. The hesitation this creates may last only a fraction of a second, but in that fraction lies survival. The butterfly does not need to convince the predator it is dangerous. It only needs to interrupt certainty. This is the panic button of the owl butterfly's existence. It is not a bluff sustained over time. It is a single, decisive action designed to reset the encounter. The predator, faced with ambiguity, must reassess. Is this prey or something else? Is it watching? Could it strike back? In ecosystems where hesitation equals lost opportunity, predators are under pressure to make rapid decisions. The eye spots exploit that pressure, forcing a delay that favors the butterfly. Crucially, the timing of this display matters more than its intensity. If revealed too early, the eye spots lose surprise value and allow the predator to adapt. If revealed too late, when contact is already imminent, hesitation may not be enough to prevent capture. The butterfly must assess distance, orientation, and predator behavior before committing. This assessment is not conscious reasoning, but a pattern of sensory thresholds shaped by selection. The wings remain closed until the probability of remaining unseen drops below the probability that a startled display will succeed. Once the wings are open, the butterfly often accompanies the display with a short, erratic movement, shifting position to compound confusion. This movement is not aimed flight. It is displacement, breaking the predator's targeting lock. In some cases, the butterfly may then take flight, using the momentary pause to escape into deeper cover. In others, it may close its wings again, returning to stillness in a new position where camouflage can resume. The eye spots are not a replacement for hiding. They are a bridge back to it. The effectiveness of this strategy depends on predator psychology as much as morphology. Birds that rely on rapid visual assessment are most susceptible. Those that hunt by probing or tactile exploration are less affected. As a result, owl butterflies are most active during crepuscular periods, when visual hunters dominate but light conditions reduce clarity. Their daily rhythms align with the windows when eye spots have maximum impact. Even activity timing becomes part of the decision framework. There is a cost to this defense. Revealing the wings exposes bright colors and large shapes that can attract attention from other predators. The motion itself generates sound and visual contrast. Once used, the panic button cannot be reused immediately. A predator that has already processed the display may not hesitate again. This makes the decision irreversible in the short term. The butterfly must commit fully, knowing that a failed display leaves it worse off than before. The evolution of eye spots reflects this risk. Their size, placement, and contrast are tuned to maximize effect in low light without becoming constantly visible. They are positioned where they resemble forward-facing eyes when the wings are spread, oriented toward the approaching threat. They do not need to be anatomically accurate. They need to be suggestive enough to trigger the correct neural response in the predator. The butterfly is not mimicking a specific animal. It is mimicking the concept of attention. This strategy illustrates a broader principle in survival. Not all defenses are about preventing contact. Some are about altering decision-making in others. The owl butterfly does not escape because it is faster or stronger. It escapes because it forces a mistake. A predator that hesitates may lose its chance entirely. In the complex environment of the forest edge, that chance may not return. The ecological role of the owl butterfly extends beyond its own survival. By influencing predator behavior, it shapes hunting patterns and attentional biases. Predators encountering repeated startle displays may become more cautious, altering how they approach other prey species. This indirect effect can ripple through the community, changing which insects are targeted and when. The butterfly's defense becomes part of the behavioral landscape. There is an irony here. The eye spots that save the butterfly's life are useless when not used and dangerous when overused. The animal lives most of its time pretending they do not exist. Only in moments of genuine threat do they matter. This reinforces the central tension of its life. Safety lies in restraint, but survival sometimes demands boldness. As dusk deepens, the forest edge cools and shadows merge. The owl butterfly settles once more, wings folded, eyes erased from the world. It becomes leaf and bark again, waiting. Somewhere nearby, a bird shifts position, scanning. The butterfly remains still, calculating without thought. If the bird passes, nothing happens. If it approaches too closely, the decision will be made in an instant. Flash or hide. In ecosystems crowded with danger, survival often does not hinge on a lifetime of perfect camouflage or constant vigilance. It hinges on one fast decision made correctly at the only moment when it matters.